Good evening, everybody. Auronnj here with another War of the Visions video, and today we are taking a break from the Duane hype and going back in time all the way to the beginning to talk about our first UR tank, Engelbert, and see how he compares to the modern meta, to today. How does he stack up against tanks like Warrior of Light, against tanks like Rain? Soon we'll get to see how he stacks up against tanks like Duane, but we're not quite there today. So to start, let's look at these green circled stats. These are Engelbert's strengths. He has a ton of HP. 3929 is well north of any other tank on this screen stats. Rain's getting up there at 3726, but Rain is a completely different tank than Engelbert. They're honestly not going to be competing for the same job very much. Engelbert's main competition is probably Warrior of Light. He has almost 400 more HP than Warrior of Light does base. None of these stats are amplified by support abilities. All support abilities are off for this picture. Let's go to defense. 29 base defense. That's 4 more than Mont, who is the second highest on the screen, and 14 more than Warrior of Light. So base defense, Engelbert is really doing well. He has a lot of luck. Now, luck, you might think, is not a big deal for Engelbert, but it's really nice that he can hit evasion teams sometimes. A lot of luck helps you hit, evade, and dodge. Now, you're not going to be dodging a lot with Engelbert. There are ways to build him into an evasion comp. I will show a video of that later, but he's not going to be out there sliding around like Venera dodging everything. But a lot of luck is nice, and it is it's a point for him. Let's look at his resists. He has 20 slash resist, 25 strike resist, 20 missile resist, and 5 pierce resist. Those are pretty good. He has a positive resist for every physical damage type, and for everything but pierce, he has a significant resist to it. Comparing that to Whisper on the far right, Whisper has 30 resist across the board base. He's not there. He's not that, like, resist tank level that Whisper is, but if you wanted to build Engelbert as a specific resist type tank, he has 3 good enough resists that you could do it. His pierce resist only being 5 is just it's okay. You know, it's not great. Let's, though, move to what his weaknesses are. These red circles are the things I consider weak with Engelbert. First of all, his agility is only 48. When we compare that to some other tanks, you can see he's slow. Rain's at 55, Whisper's at 57, even Warrior of Light, who's pretty slow himself, is at 52. Yeah, that's not good. And that's especially not good when combined with a move 3 and jump 1. We did a video on Mont earlier, where Mont was able to overcome his slow speed because of his move 4 and jump 2. Mont's able to get out in front in one turn, a lot of times in range of the enemy team to get that aggro. Engelbert is just not going as far. The dude's slow. He is a turtle. He's tanky, but man, he's trundling out there at his own pace. So those two combined, agility and his movement, are a weakness to me. He's also weak to dark. Right now, that's a big deal. There is a lot of darkness in the current meta. Kane, Ruinstern, Duane just came out. Yeah, that's not good. Now, it's not going to cripple him, but you can see some of these other units, like Rain and Mont, get a strength element. Like, Mont is resistant to lightning. Rain is resistant to ice. Engelbert doesn't get one of those, but he does get weakness to dark. So that's a strike against him. And then magic is his biggest strike against him. This is the thing that people point out all the time with Engelbert. And it's such a weakness that, like, if your Engelbert is getting trucked by magic, you should probably run something else. Not Mont. Mont is also very weak to magic, but maybe that's where you mix in a Rain or a Whisper if you're fighting a bunch of magic teams. The current meta is not very magic intensive, so it's not a giant deal for him right now. But he's got to be careful of the calculators. Mostly they're in groups to support, but little Leela and Ildira can just drop an AoE on you from across the map. and Engelbert really doesn't like that. Okay, so let's talk quickly about his support, main job, and sub job abilities. I'm going to run him as a paladin in the videos I'm going to show, and it's the sub job I'm going to recommend for tank Engelbert. So I'm not going to show his other 2 subs. I'll touch on them briefly. But for support, I think this is a weakness of Engelbert. I think his support abilities aren't very good. Holy Knight's protection is good. It's probably his one really good one. More defense and more HP, yeah, that's just amplifying 2 of his really good stats and making him a better physical tank. So you're going to run that. Now, Divine Protection, not very good. Strike Mastery, I mean, I'm not running him as Monk sub job. I've seen that, and it's kind of funny, and sometimes it catches people off guard. But if you're going for like a high level Engelbert, you just don't see that. So you kind of end up at HP up level 1. And that's fine. But as far as tank stats go, HP is typically the one that I sort of worry about last. I'd rather have more defense, or more of a resistance type, or something like that. But if you combine Holy Knight's protection and HP up, you've made a more tanky physical tank Engelbert. So those are what I'm going to run. For his main job, I turn everything off except for Immortal Spirit and Saintly Wall. Immortal Spirit obviously makes you survive damage once. That's really good on a guy like Engelbert, who the enemy team might have thrown everything they had at him, and they finally kill him, and they're like, oh, he procced Courage, and Ayaka's like, Curaga. And then they have to burn through him some more. And there's a lot of fights where Engelbert and Ayaka will just squad up, and Courage with Ayaka heals or Little Leela heals just ruin somebody's day. Okay, Saintly Wall, this is obviously really good, 50% damage cut to physical, and it costs 40 TP, which helps him generate AP for the only AP skill I leave on, which is Taunting Blade, but it costs 44. Taunting Blade is very expensive, so I leave Taunting Blade on. That's his bread and butter hate generation. You're going to run that. And then I also run Sentinel, just as a way to help lean into his slowness. There's a lot of times where Engelbert at, 48 agility will cast Sentinel, walk forward, and be wearing Vow of Love or something, and just stand there while the enemy team gets a couple of turns on him. And the whole time, they're just smashing into this Sentinel buffed Engelbert, because even though Sentinel only lasts 1 turn is a really long time for Engelbert. So Sentinel combined with his speed can be kind of a strength, and you're going to want to use that sometimes. Okay, let's jump into some fights and see how Engelbert teams perform. For our first round of fights, I built a solo carry Engelbert Ayaka team. You used to see these all the time, and they're still pretty good. So this is Engelbert full tank, running Secret Orders Vision card to help speed him up. Secret Orders gives him an agility boost. He's also running Bells, which give him 7 more agility, and give him the Bells buff, which helps him generate some AP early, which helps him get Taunting Blades off to keep our 1 DPS alive. It's really important in this group that Ramada is able to do some work before she dies or live through the whole fight. And then Ayaka is going to just team up with Engelbert, in theory, and they're going to just be a squad that is unkillable. While Ramada kills everybody. So what's Engelbert look like in this? Here's his stats. He's at 6,600 HP. His attack really isn't too bad at 720, so he can do some damage. 64 defense is really good. Yeah, and here you go, 69 agility. This is like speed Engelbert. Now, I leaned all the way into speed here, while still using Golem for the tankiness, and he got up to 69. So that's pretty good for him. And let's see how that works in the actual fight. Alright, so here's our first opponent. This person is running Glaciella, Kane, and Lucia. So 2 Pierce units, a Missile unit, and we are running Engelbert Ayaka and Christmas Ramada. Ramada's our 1 carry, so can this speed-enhanced version of Engelbert actually get up there, take the aggro off Ramada, and win the fight? Or allow Ramada to win the fight? Let's see how it plays out. Okay, so no surprise, the enemy Glaciella is faster than us, but Ayaka's pretty speedy for us, gets that buff on all 3 people, we like to see that. Ramada gonna buff a revive on herself and run straight over the top. On this map, there's no way Ayaka's gonna be able to like keep pace with her, so she needs a way of keeping herself alive if she catches some damage. Engelbert has used bells, moved up, and took 872 damage from Glaciella's leap strike. So there, you can see, he's an effective physical tank. A lot more effective than the 5.7k Ramada just took from Kayn. Now, she revives, and she's going to do to him what he did to her, except he won't come back to life. So too bad for her. Engelbert gets the taunting blade off. Great, there's the hate up. Glaciella's still poking at him, not really able to do a whole lot. Second taunting blade, Engelbert now has all the hate he needs for this whole fight, and he hasn't taken enough damage yet to trigger healing, so Ayaka will go into like damage carry mode, and now Ramada's left to just clean up Lucia. Boom, easy win. Engelbert didn't do a whole lot in that fight, but he didn't need to do a whole lot. He took enough of the hate away from Ramada that she was able to kill 2 people, and he was so tanky that Ayaka was able to be a bit of a DPS and not have to worry about constantly healing him. So pretty good fight for our first fight. Let's jump into our second fight. Okay, in this fight, we have our same squad, and we're going against a tank, Warrior of Light, another Lucia, who's all over Arena right now, and a Laswell. So another mixed damage team. This time though, they're running a tank, so let's see how our squad does against this. Okay, there's the buff from Lucia to start their fight. As usual, they are faster than our Engelbert, but that's okay. Warrior of Light, significantly faster in this one. He's got a little speed buff going for himself. And then Engelbert gonna cast his AP Restore and move forward. Laswell puts his shield up, everything going as planned early. One nice thing about this comp is Ayaka will cast Haste on Engelbert if she has null CT on herself. And she does. This is another way of helping Engelbert overcome his deficits. Now this is a little bit unfortunate. Warrior of Light's like running Dragoon out of left field here, and so Engelbert was unable to get into range to hit him with a taunting blade, and he ends up hitting our tank. Because Engelbert hadn't got a taunting blade off yet, Lucia walks up and shoots Ramada and procs her her revive really early. Now Engelbert has gotten the aggro, but it's too late for Ramada because Warrior of Light has no AP left and he'll just finish her off with a regular attack. So here's the squad though. This is that Ayaka Engelbert combo that used to just carry in Guild Wars, in Arena back in the day. Can it 2v3? Like, is it that good? Let's see. Warrior of Light buffs his hate and his defense again. Ayaka gonna keep her buddy Engelbert alive here. Split shot, big damage on both of them. Haste on Engelbert, that's good. Now Engelbert's out of abilities right now. All he has left is auto attacks because he only is using Taunting Blade. That's a weakness of this build. But he's very tanky. So Ayaka might get to do a little damage if she can get their HP high enough that it doesn't trigger more heals for her. Not a ton of damage coming out from the enemy here. There's pretty good damage. Engelbert slowly chewing through the enemy team, but Engelbert doing things slowly is pretty normal for him. He's low, so a heal from Ayaka. About 2,000. It doesn't look like a lot on his health bar because his health bar is so big, but 2,000 HP is a lot for the enemy to chew through. Limit break, okay. Both characters low, but Ayaka will do this. She likes to stand one space away from him and just cast Curaga in between them. And they've just kind of set up at this point. The enemy has used a lot of their AP. They're kind of in this place where they either kill Engelbert or lose. Or turns run out, right? Like, there was the summon, and that didn't kill him. Ayaka was already charging a Curaga. We're basically back to where we started a second ago. Warrior of Light's dead. guess what? Another Curaga. Like, at this point, it's hard to imagine them killing Engelbert. He just has too much health. Now, his hate has finally run out, so Lucia's shooting Ayaka, but it doesn't matter. Turns ran out, and we happen to have more HP than them, so we get the win. Does that feel bad? Absolutely that feels bad, because you never like to win on turns running out. But look at how annoying Warrior of Light plus a healer was. And he didn't even die and get revived. So, yeah, it might have been helpful if he had like Blade Bash turned on still or something like that. But we got the win. Okay. For the second build for Warrior of Light that I'll show off, I'll show him with a more traditional build, like without using bells himself, and I'll run some evasion units with him to see if his luck stat can kind of come in clutch, see if we can lean into that a little bit. But this time he's running Vow of Love, and he's, instead of running bells in his TMR slot, he's running Dario's sword, which will help him generate AP to get taunting blades off. So in theory, he's going to be slower with this build. He's not getting agility from his vision card, he's not getting agility from his TMR, but with Vow of Love, the enemy team should still be drawn towards him, and he should be able to get a taunting blade off in enough time to keep some evasion units alive if we can have RNG on our side a little bit and get some dodging. Here's what his stats look like for this one. You can see the agility down from 69 to 58, but his defense is still very high, and yeah, let's jump into some fights, see how this plays out. Alright, enemy team here is Kayn, Christmas Moshery, and Ildira. Not the ideal team for Engelbert to tank against. There's magic damage on this team, there's dark piercing damage on this team. However, this is what we got. We're just in the arena, and they don't have sharpshoot on this team. Or at least they're not running double gunners. And there's a lot of Lucia running around who causes problems for evade, so this is what we got. Let's see how it plays out. Okay, bells on Venera this time, so she's going to do bells, she's going to go over the top and try and do Venera dodgy things that I'm sure everyone in here has been tilted off the planet by before. Yeah, so there, she's going to go do Venera things. Enemy team buffing themselves up. Big movement there from Kayn. There's a Mortal Spirit that puts him exactly at 44 AP with Dario's TMR. Now he'll be able to Taunting Blade on his second turn, and that's what we need. Now, unfortunately, he's standing right next to one of our carries. We get a dodge from Orlando on his first chance, and we get a dodge from Venera. That might be all we need to really get things going. Or it would have been had that killed Ildira, but it barely didn't. So she's going to heal herself a little bit. We're going to need some more dodges. We did not get one there from Orlando, and in fact, Engelbert took big time damage himself. With that dark attack, with the pierce resist down, that really went to Engelbert's weaknesses. His weakest physical mitigation is pierce, and it got taken lower by Kayn's attack. And he has the element darkness weakness, so Kayn is a fairly tough matchup for Engelbert. Kayn chews through him, but did Engelbert buy enough time? It's essentially a 1v1 now with Venera versus Kayn, and unless this person's running some accuracy or some luck, I have to feel like Venera's going to win this. One more dodge and it's over. There it was. Now she'll kill him, and we win. So, did we win because of Engelbert? No, we didn't. But what we were able to show off there was Engelbert with Dario's TMR was able to generate 44 AP on the first turn just by casting Courage on himself. That is an important thing to note. Now, the fact that we won the fight didn't have a lot to do with that. I guess he bought enough time for Venera to sort of 1v3, and sometimes that's what you need from your tank. So in that way, he did some work. But really, that was more Venera popping off than anything else. Okay, so now, how do I rank Engelbert? How would my little arbitrary point system here score him? I'm going to give him an 83 out of 100. Now, I don't want people to overreact to that score thinking it's too low or too high, because really, it's hard to give Engelbert an overall score because he sort of just does one thing. Let's go line by line here. Physical tank, I give him a 95. It would have been even higher than that, let's say a month ago, before Kane, before Duane, before Darkness was really the strength of the meta. I'd probably give him a 99. Just said, hey, he's the best physical tank in the game. He can go out there, tank anybody all day. But you got to see how Kane can kind of be the physical DPS that breaks through Engelbert. But that being said, he still can take more than one hit from Kane. And with a healer, he's still probably going to be fine. So I still give him a 95. But that's the thing he sort of does the best, and it's the only thing that I gave him like an A on, basically. As a magic tank, we don't even need to talk about that. He's terrible at magic tanking. I give him a 60. His damage is okay. I'll give him a 75 on damage. You actually saw in the very second fight that just with auto attacks, he was able to eventually kill Warrior of Light and do enough damage that we won the fight on turns. So he's not terrible at dealing damage, especially considering if he's running something like Vow, it's going to give him a damage boost anyway, or if he's running like Secret Orders, it's going to boost his slash attack. So his damage is pretty decent. His movement sucks, 65, 3 move, 1 jump. I'm just probably going to always give that a 65. It's gross. Speed, I'm going to bump up to a 70. I'm going to bump it up to a 70 because I think there's sometimes being slow is good for him if you want to game it. Like if you want to have him cast Sentinel and then stand there like a rock, his speed is slow enough that he can do that. That's really the only good thing about his speed. It takes a lot of effort to get him to a reasonable amount of speed, so I'll just give him a 70 on that and say, you're slow, dude. Utility, I'm going to bump him up to an 85 on utility because he does a lot of things for himself that are very good. He can cast Courage on himself, he can cast Sentinel, he can cast that 50% damage reduction shield for physical, he has Taunting Blade. I think his agility is pretty good. He generates hate by himself, which is something you really want from a tank. And Engelbert sort of just is what we think he is. He's a really dang good physical tank that, if you can find good matchups for him, can just about carry your team through it. The days of Engelbert plus a healer are not over. If this is your guy, if you invested the rainbow materials into Engelbert, don't let people tell you that he's worthless. There are fights out there you can win. There are Guild Wars battles where he is going to be fantastic. Find slashing teams. Find physical only teams. Even if it's gunners, even if it's some piercing damage. You saw Glaciella couldn't really do anything to him. Run him with a healer, let him soak all that up, and find a way for your DPS to carry. He can set that up. That's sort of his utility. He's not like a Agrius where you just throw her out there and she's like, I'm Agrius and I do all the things and you don't have to worry about me and I'm easy. You gotta plan a little bit for Engelbert. But if you do, he's very useful. And that's why he gets a pretty decent score of an 83 out of 100. And it's really even higher than that if you're using him how he's supposed to be used. So that's what I got today. Thank you guys for watching this video. I have used Engelbert a ton in the past, and I still really like this guy. Giving him that low of a score kind of felt bad, like in my heart, but I guess it's just kind of what my brain's telling me. So throw me a like and subscribe if you like this. Leave some comments if you agree or disagree. Tell me who you want to see reviewed next for a tank. And I hope you guys have a Merry Christmas, and I will see you next time.